This episode is about the genetics of canine scent detection. Now, I'm not a geneticist. I'm a regular person who has learned a lot about DNA. For the Anubis.Shepherd breeding program, I am the current DNA specialist as well as the founder of the breed. I analyze the research out there and then I apply it to this breeding program. For this video, I'm going to discuss an overview of my research. I will try to provide my interpretation of that research in a usable format for the average Anubis.Shepherd owner as well as future and current breeders. If you want more details, ask in the comments, and if there's enough interest, I will do a more in-depth video later. The main genetic factors being looked at currently for the Anubis.Shepherd are the number of olfactory receptors and the number of functional olfactory receptor genes, often shown as FORGE or functional OR gene in studies, and the genetic closest to wild canines. So I'm going to cover these topics: the olfactory receptors, the breed differences, the functional OR receptor genes, other considerations, and then the Anubis.Shepherd genetic goals. Now, an olfactory receptor is in the epithelium of the nose. It provides a sense of smell. It has a cilia that contains the receptors in its membrane, and it can detect specific chemicals, and that's what we classify as a smell. Right now, the current research is about how many olfactory receptors a dog has, not what they do. This research has shown that some measurable correlation to the number of olfactory receptors a canine has to the scent capabilities of the canine in testing. Even a small increase in olfactory receptors seems to have a measurable effect on scent capabilities. Scent capabilities equals raw talent, not trainability. Those are based on other genetic environmental factors. So the breed differences is wolves on average have 300 million olfactory receptors, generally more than top scent dogs. Siberian Huskies have 220 to 300 million. And they're on par with wolves and on average more than top scent dogs. German Shepherds have a maximum of 225 million, slightly less than wolves, and at the low end of Siberian Huskies. Belgian Malinois, on average, have 220 million. They don't match wolves, and they're at their low end of Siberian Huskies, yet both of these breeds are higher than most domestic breeds. Functional OR is the FORGE gene. Lots of things in genetics are complex, and some things are just what they sound like. FORGE refers to genes that are functional, therefore they work, versus ones that are present but not functional. Research has shown, with the comparison of the olfactory receptor subgenomes in 30 breeds of domestic dogs to that of the gray wolf, and the closest outgroup, the coyote, determined that domestication has resulted in a significant loss of functional OR genes in dogs relative to wild canines. And polymorphism matters. While the number of genes may be similar, there are differences in the polymorphism, the variations of those genes, which could lead to differences in scent detection abilities. Wild wolves and coyotes, they have on average the highest number of functional OR genes, 854. The coyote has the smallest number of FORGE, which are 801. Ancient breeds, Siberian Huskies, they on average have a higher number of functional OR genes than modern breeds and a lower number than wild canines. Ancient breeds have on average a FORGE of 785. There appears to be less polymorphism in ancient breeds than with modern breeds. Modern canines, which is the Belgian Malinois and German Shepherd, they have the lowest number of functional OR genes of the three groups. Modern canines appear to have an average of around 750. The most visible polymorphism is seen in modern canines, which means they have the most changes to their genes. So other considerations is a recent comparative morphological study of the cribriform plate, the quantifiable bony imprint of olfactory nerves entering the brain from the nose, revealed that domestic dogs had a reduced olfactory skeleton relative to the gray wolf, and that, contrary to claims of breeders, scent breeds showed no enhanced olfactory phenotypes relative to other breeds, yet ancient breeds did show more comparable results to wild canines. This has to do with the fact that they retain a strong olfactory genes, the V1R and the V2R, for tracking prey over long distances. And yes, this matters. The Anubis.Shepherd genetic goals, the first general question is, why not cross with wolves for the best results? And generally, my answer to all questions about why I'm making breeding choices will all come back to one word: genetics. Wolves' superior scent stems from wild genetics, but their independence, stress around humans, and lack of domestication, which means they have no WBSCR17 friendliness gene, makes them untrainable for scent work. That's the problem. Wolves don't have trainability, and as hard as Siberian Huskies are, they are trainable. The goal for the Anubis.Shepherd program is to get our breed to maximize the number of olfactory receptors possible through introducing a breed capable of passing those genes, the Siberian Husky. The Siberian Husky gives us the availability of a higher number of functional OR genes, another bonus for adding their available genes. There are many other undiscovered genes, and the 99.9% versus 99.8% genetic differences are huge in the genetic world. Another factor to consider is under controlled testing of various dog breeds in a food detection tasks, they found that Siberian Huskies perform best, outperforming both German Shepherds and Belgian Malinois. And this is all about raw talent, not trainability. So you cannot make genes appear in your dog breed if they are not already there. In order to get these genes, it's required to introduce them, either through genetic modification with CRISPR or other genetic engineering, or introducing those genes through a responsible and controlled breeding program focused on genes for the entire process from function to form. Now, the next episode that we're going to do is going to be on litter number 2 and on early scent development in our puppies. That's a video, you'll get actual video, and I show some of the ways that we work with our puppies from very early age to get them really highly capable scenters.